So that is the aim for Max Verstappen as he tries to head off all threats. Let's send it back downstairs to Laura Winter on the grid.
Not invited, bro.
A wry smile on the man's face who's joined us, Toto Wolff, with a look over at Max Verstappen's car. Toto, it was a relatively gloomy picture you painted yesterday, saying this direction you've taken and ultimately will not be competitive. Is there a slight upturn in mood today, first race of the season?
No, I think on the big picture, there is no upturn in mood. We need to do the best out of the car, what we have today, and then optimize on the race result, and then
అది కాదు ఆర్డర్ చేసేద్దామా నేను చేయనా
What is the best you can do today? What's the optimum result for Mercedes today?
in racing everything is possible. So if we can race with the Ferraris and then maybe with the Aston Martin, although here are splendid long run, that would be good.
Toto, how long will it look in before you guys feel you can really step it back up and close the gap? Because it's not a small thing that you guys need to do, isn't it, to make those changes?
I think you need to be realistic with Red Bull. It's going to be difficult, but maybe we can, as I said, on the race fight with the Ferraris, and then dig ourselves out of the problems that we have.
Thank you very much indeed, Toto. I will let you go. Well, yeah, not getting much better at Mercedes, but we'll see. The answers are going to come now. Predictions from both of you, if I may.
I think Max's going to take it away, but I think Charles is going to somehow make his way into the podium and Fernando's going to take P3.
అంతే అంతకంటే ఉండదు.
Sticking with my start of the weekend prediction. I don't care. Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly. Yes, from P20. You got to have some belief.
Miracles do happen.
It's the first race of the year.
Anything can happen.
Let's go, boys.
Let's go, boys. Okay, brilliant stuff. Will Buxton, thank you so much. Lawrence Barretto, thank you. We'll get your driver reactions after the race. Oh, we're in for it now, aren't we? I am so excited for this. It is going to be absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I haven't given my prediction just yet, have I?
What is your prediction, Laura Winter?
I'm going to say a Max Verstappen win. I'm going to follow suit there. I'm going to say Fernando Alonso P2. And I'm going to say, I originally said Charles Leclerc. I am going to say Checo Perez now. I think we might see a Red Bull big points haul for this first weekend. But we'll see. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, here we go then. We are in for a treat. It is the Bahrain Grand Prix. It is the opening race of the Formula One season, the longest ever season in the history of this brilliant, fantastic, incredible sport. We are so lucky to be a part of.
You saw it or not?
Fernando Alonso, Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, Aston Martin. Who knows? Our brand new commentary team will take you through all the action. We'll hand over now to David Coulthard, Julia Palmer, and Alex Jones.
ఇక్కడ కాదు ఫామ్లో వన్ ఎటుకి వెళ్తాను నువ్వు మాట్లాడతా ఆ డబ్బులతో వెళ్తాను ఓకే రే వస్తుందా అరే అది కాదు ఈ డ్రైవర్ ట్రాకర్ ఇవన్నీ ఏమీ క్యాస్ట్ కావట్లే అంటే నువ్వు వాటిని షేర్ చేయలేవు ఓన్లీ టైమింగ్స్ అనుకుంటా అదే పెట్టాను లీడర్ బోర్డు పెట్టానే హ్యాష్ ట్యాగ్లు పెట్టలేదా
Many decades ago, motor racing's highest competition needed a name. They all agreed on formula, but what should follow? Some wanted the letter A. Others preferred international to reflect the journey around the globe. In the end, only one seemed to fit. They called it Formula One. Good evening and welcome back to your favourite thing about Sunday. This is the 74th running of the World Championship. Whether it's your first race or you've seen them all, we thank you for joining F1's longest season. And it all begins here. Around 57 laps of Bahrain, 5.4 kilometers, 3.3 miles, 15 turns. There's not much in the way of elevation, but there's plenty of overtaking. This is often one of the greatest races of the year for side-by-side battles, and there's nothing to show you that like last year. Verstappen versus Leclerc, pass, repass, and repass again. Got us off to a thrilling start 1 year ago. And if we take you back even further, another phenomenal Grand Prix. Hamilton and Rosberg. Rosberg had the tyres, and Hamilton had the racecraft. Another thrilling wheel-to-wheel battle. And Yuki Tsunoda and Lando Norris showed us that it is possible to go to the inside of turn number 10 and make a move. These are the tyres for today. The soft, the medium, and the hard, you will know. It's the C3, the C2, and the C1. Much improved C1 tyre, which is going to be asked by the teams. Let's take you through the grid for the opening Grand Prix of the year then. As we build up for the starting grid. Here it comes. Pierre Gasly begins live at Alpine from the back. He's next to Nick de Vries, making a full season Formula One debut. Oscar Piastri makes his debut from 18th. He's next to Kevin Magnussen, who's 10 places higher on last year's grid. It's an all-Williams row 8, with Sargent 1 millisecond short of joining his teammate in Q2. Yuki Tsunoda has scored on both previous visits here. He's going to have to raise a few places to do so again. Zhou Guanyu is next to him. Valtteri Bottas had a superb record around this circuit inside the top 6 in qualifying before. It's gone out the window. Sound next to him. Hulkenberg back in Formula One and back into the top 10. He's next to Esteban Ocon. Lance Stroll defying injury for his best ever start around this circuit. Lewis Hamilton on the other side of the coin, his worst ever start around this racetrack. Then comes George Russell in 6th, next to one of the stars of the weekend, Fernando Alonso threatening the podium. Sainz and Leclerc lock out the second row for Ferrari. And at the front of the field, the Red Bulls of Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. Perez trying to win here for the second time. Max Verstappen trying to win a season opener for the first time in his career. Lewis Hamilton is 7th on the grid, looking to make a step forward. His old rival, Fernando Alonso, is just ahead of him. We've seen them do battle time and time again. Are we going to see them go wheel to wheel on the circuit today? It is hugely exciting times as we build up with anticipation for the start of a new Formula One season. And looking forward to this enormously. I'm not the only one as well. Alongside me, David Coulthard, and first of all, Julian Palmer. You can barely contain your excitement.
No, there's a bass pumping somewhere around the circuit. It's going at pace with my heartbeat at the moment. A lot of expectation right now, a lot of anticipation. The first piece of the puzzle is that everyone's on the soft tyre, so it's all equal there. Charles Leclerc, remember, starts on a brand new one, and Kevin Magnussen at the back is on a hard, but bulk of the pack on a soft tyre, so all equal for the start.
Yeah, and I think that's born out of wanting to make sure you get a good launch. It's not that long down to the first corner, but it is a tricky little one. Big stop, and yeah, that could well be a race-ending first corner, depending on whether anyone's a bit rusty in the racing.
Okay, it is nearly time for the formation lap. We are going to hit 6 o'clock local time. And there's a green light as the Red Bulls, who locked out the front row here for the first time in their whole team history, lead the field away. Verstappen, then Perez, then it's an all-Ferrari row 2 before we get to Fernando Alonso. And the big question of what can he do today? Can he threaten the podium?
Yeah, I think he can do a lot of damage, Julian, and just actually a little tingle. For a moment, I'm back in the cockpit. That moment when you go, you leave your team, you know, they wish you luck, and now it's all down to the driver. The team can't do anything for you off the line, and it's a magic feeling, isn't it?
You're on your own now. You're on your own. It's all-out war for the next 57 laps. And no one really knows what to expect, because it's an all-new car for the whole field. I just quite quite like the look of those shiny softs on Charles Leclerc's Ferrari right now. Starts on the clean side of the grid as well, and that will just give him a little bit of extra grip off the line. So he could be one to watch in the opening phase. And then, yeah, Fernando Alonso, the race pace of the Aston, could be the long-range threat for a podium.
So the air temperature is 27 degrees, the track temperature 31, but the race strategy is going to be oh so important. We're expecting a two-stop. They will have to manage the tyres out there. The hard tyre is improved, but still, many in the paddock expecting a little bit of lift and coast. And the most abrasive surface of the year, car off in the background there, trying to make, it is like Stroll, trying to make it through. He's gone deep on the formation lap at turn 10.
That is never a good thing. You know, the tyres are so sensitive to pick up. That's going to be dusty and sandy out there. It's going to be difficult for him to clean that tyre up sufficiently. Maybe the rear tyre he'll do burnouts, but the front tyre might still have a bit dust as he heads into turn 1.
It's quite a quick formation lap that Max has done, but it shouldn't be quick enough that Lance lost control. His fitness isn't going to be a question mark later on in the Grand Prix, but that should be fine as well. Just got to bring up those rear tyre temps again now.
Yeah, every team will have their own procedure, but in the end, they all have exactly the same tyre from Pirelli. Here we go. Yeah, that is really strange. Maybe just out of brake temperature is not quite right. You sometimes get that grabbing of the inside wheel.
Lapse of concentration, it looks like. Just didn't really hit the brakes initially and then realised he's carrying too much speed in.
Yeah, corner came up and surprised him. Oh, there's a corner.
Oh, it's turn 10. There we go. Red Bull's coming to the line, the previous winners, Charles Leclerc last year in a great battle with Max Verstappen. Hamilton for 3 years in a row. In 2021, 2020 and 2019, Sebastian Vettel taking victory for Ferrari in 2018 before. That is the look at Fred Vasseur, the new team principal at Ferrari. And Mick Schumacher looks on with Toto Wolff hoping more. Hope than expectation that they'll be able to threaten. Wonderful scenes now as they roar up and take their position. Up to the yellow line, park it up. Carlos Sainz does not have the tyre advantage his teammate has from third on the grid. The Red Bulls are at the front. Surprisingly, the last car in position is Pierre Gasly. It is nearly time for 57 laps of Bahrain International, the opening Grand Prix of 23 in 2023. Alpine in position. Green flag at the back means that it is finally time. The new season is 5 lights. Formula One in 2023 is go. Poor getaway for Sergio Perez. Great launch off the line from Charles Leclerc, and they're very nearly making contact into turn number 1. Verstappen leads. Leclerc is up to second place. Sainz is going to battle with Sergio Perez. Perez did not get a good launch off the line as they all battle through the opening corners. It's Verstappen, then it's Leclerc. Down a place goes Sergio Perez. They're fighting in the background now. The soft tyre worked. That's an ambitious move to the inside. That's a way through. Lewis Hamilton getting past.
Contact between the Astons.
And that was very, very, very tight. So through he goes. George Russell trying to follow his teammate through. Alonso losing a couple of places. It's Verstappen, then Leclerc. Perez, Sainz up 2 places goes Lewis Hamilton. Russell in 6th, and Alonso did not get the opening lap that he was looking for.
Well, he was side by side with Hamilton, and then Stroll came steaming in behind on the inside. Couldn't stop the car again. And rear-ended his teammate, so not good for Aston Martin at all. Good news for Ferrari then. Leclerc with the new tyres did get the launch. Perez fell backwards. It was so hairy with Perez and Sainz going to the pit exit on the way down to turn 1. In the end, all clean there, and Leclerc has split
bodywork. Yeah, look at the bodyworks come off. That was that front wing end plate. I think it is.
I think it is.
What I've got to say, I'm super impressed with the opening couple of corners, though. The cars were so close together. Perez, how there wasn't contact with the Ferraris as they ran down to the braking zone. And then, yeah, that could have been the absolute nightmare scenario with Lance Stroll clipping the back of Fernando Alonso.
Dramatic opening meters of the Formula One season, but Max Verstappen exactly where he wanted to be. Charles Leclerc getting the launch that he needed. Yellow flag is out in the middle part of the lap. On that back straight, the debris that we saw. Just seeing if there's anyone dropping to the back of the pack. Only one car on the hard tyres. So it's Verstappen leading, then Charles Leclerc. Perez down to 3rd. Sainz is in 4th position. The 2 Mercedes are 5th and 6th. And then Alonso likely to still continue in the Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas making it work. Up 4 places. Points completed by Stroll and Norris.
Really important work for Mercedes to clear Alonso with both cars. So Hamilton's gone from 7th to 5th. And here we go, replay on board with Stroll, and he's fighting the Mercedes of Russell, and that's a whack. That's a whack on the right rear of Fernando. Teammates clashing in 4 corners of the season is not what you want to see.
No, and that cost them the place to the Mercedes, so that could be crucial. We were talking it up, saying there could be an opportunity for Fernando to look for a podium. Well, that's already been put. Loser there, Hulkenberg dropped down to 14th, so the Haas not able to convert that good top 10 qualifying.
Yeah, Joe Guan Yu as well, dropping back down 4 places. Gasly getting past the hard shot Magnussen. De Vries at the back of the field, losing a position.
So a fair few carbon fibres scattered across the track there as well, with a bit of debris right to the inside. That's not on the racing line, so that's not a big threat, but you would wonder about puncture potential maybe as everyone's swept across that path.
Those younger eyes of yours, can you see which car the debris actually came off?
No, they're not young enough. Somewhere in the midfield, wasn't it? On the edge of the top 10, we saw it on the first lap, but everyone's still running. 20 cars still in it.
The problem is they've got so much black carbon in these cars now and trying to keep the weight down. It's very difficult to tell when bits fly off.
It's absolutely true, DC. As we move on, is there a chance, looking through the field, for the best chance of a move? Looks like Stroll putting the most pressure on Valtteri Bottas. Checking in, is it a Williams? We're zooming in on Alex Albon. I wonder if the suspicion is it's from his car.
I couldn't see anything with the carbon fibre on the front end of the Williams. I'm be very concerned for Fernando Alonso's car after that hit. That was a big hit into the right rear. If he's not picked up some floor damage from that, I'd be surprised. It would affect him a decent amount of downforce.
Yeah, you can see the fast starting Stroll actually there. The 2 Mercedes were a bit slow getting away. Hamilton took advantage of getting past his teammate, and then actually look how wide Fernando was down at turn 1. Almost like he was making sure, I'm not going to have contact there, I'm leaving plenty of space. And then put it in perspective, look how far back Lance Stroll is, battling with the Mercedes, and he's going to hit the back of his teammate.
That's why you called it, and I was looking further up the road, DC. That is miles in.
He must have been heart in mouth as he was herring towards the apex of turn 4 then. Here we go with Sergio Perez. Now, this wasn't a great start, and Sainz is on his right-hand side there. Carlos did a really good job to not get involved in a collision there, or not create a collision. He backed right out of it in the pit exit.
I think that was actually brilliantly aggressive from Charles Leclerc, brilliantly reactive from Checo Perez. And here we are once again seeing that contact.
I've been hit in turn 4. Yeah, but I mean, they cannot do that.
Yeah, copy, we are reviewing. They can't, or we can't.
Yeah, he doesn't know it was his teammate.
I wonder if Stroll has a brake problem, though, after the way that he went off on the formation. That's the only thing, the way that he's not been able to stop it.
Well, he's got a broken toe. Is it the left foot or the right foot? Left foot braking at these things.
It hasn't affected
That's
thus
a Haas,
far.
yeah, it's a Haas front wing end plate.
It was Hulkenberg's front wing end plate. Verstappen with a 2.8 second lead out front. Perez still unable to make a dent. There has been a move through the field, though. We did see, I think it was Lando Norris lose a place to Esteban Ocon.
2 places this lap. Albon's gone through as well. Past Norris, was in the top 10, and now he's slipped down. Stroll's going okay now, so I don't think there could be an enduring problem with the brakes. Just a bit of sloppiness, maybe.
Yeah, it might take quite a while to get his heart out of his mouth, though.
Of all the things you do not want to do in the opening meters of your Formula 1 career as teammate to Fernando Alonso, worst case scenario. Poor old Lance Stroll is having a rather dramatic start to his season, not one that he wanted.
No, imagine if he had taken them both out and he was called to the chairman's office. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, big apology would have been coming their way. Interesting that Alonso is just holding back. He's not all over the back of George Russell. George Russell is closer to his teammate. Mercedes are hoping that their race pace gives them more of a chance than they had in qualifying. Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Sainz. Oh, lock up there for Charles Leclerc into turn 1. Does that give an opportunity to Sergio Perez? There's a late lunge from Lance Stroll to the inside of Valtteri Bottas. And how close is the Mexican driver trying to take back the position that he lost in the opening meters? Wide again once more from Lando Norris at turn 1. That's going to leave him vulnerable. He's struggling with that McLaren at the moment. And that is Valtteri Bottas, who has been passed by Lance Stroll, who restores himself up the order.
This is very much, I think, a case of hurry up and wait. You know, they're driving to the tire temperatures, especially with the car heavy with fuel. And, you know, Julian's more recently in the cockpit than I, but the drivers have the information to monitor the actual surface temperature of the tyre, and that basically dictates their speed. And if you be a bit more aggressive, you see Verstappen's using his underlying pace, you can then mean he can't go as far into the race.
I think Perez is sniffing a chance though now, because Leclerc having that lock-up, you can see that he's pressing on, even with those new tyres that he started with. Here's the lock-up again, hits the brakes. It's just later on in the braking zone, so the speeds come off a little bit, just as he started to move towards the apex. And this is...
Do you think that's because of the sort of lift and coast they'll be doing at this stage? Does that make it more difficult for the driver to, you know, qualifying, you just nail the latest braking. When you're doing this lift and coast, it puts you in a different sort of dynamic.
It could be, but he's an experienced guy at the front end. I think he's just now feeling the heat in an inferior car. We know the Red Bull's quick. Verstappen is now 4 seconds away, and Perez, who qualified right with Max yesterday, wants to get himself in second. He's got DRS in.
So this is going to be telling. There's a little bit of debris wrapped around an antenna at the front of Perez's car.
Is that a pitot tube? Because if that's a pitot tube, that tells you the airspeed and direction. So that takes away one of the sensors the engineers can use in the garage. I think it's a pitot tube, isn't it?
It's a tear off that's stuck around there.
Yeah.
A bit of tape.
Absolutely. Helicopter tape but yeah, when you have that blocked, then that's one of the valuable ways of actually working out the car speed versus the wind speed.
Russell's really close behind Hamilton as well, and has been since lap 1.
And in close proximity further back, we're looking at the battle for 12th position. Said after qualifying yesterday that Lando Norris did a strong job to haul the car to 11th place where he started the Grand Prix. Logan Sargent, though, trying to score points on debut. Williams, better shape than maybe even they expected at the start of this one. Albon just up the road. Ocon and Albon have passed Norris in recent laps. Sargent trying to do the same thing.
McLaren not come out of the blocks flying this year so far. Bit of a lock-up behind for the AlphaTauri there. That was De Vries towards the back end of the field. So Gasly's made 2 places. Right in the back of the shot, you can see Kevin Magnussen now having dropped 3 places, bring up the rear. But remember, he's on the hard tyre, everyone else on the soft. And the McLaren is the one that's dropping back in the hands of Lando. Had a good start up into the top 10. And now he's had one Williams pass him, and the other with a rookie at the wheel. There we go, Logan Sargent comes through, putting all sorts of pressure on Norris.
Yeah, Logan Sargent, very impressive debut so far between quali and his opening laps of the race. But, you know, we have a little briefing, don't we, before the Grand Prix from Andrea...
Stella,
the team principal. And I almost called him Seidel there for a moment, forgetting he's gone off to the Alfa Romeo team. But very frank, he just shares with us, look, we don't have enough downforce, we're having to run more wing to make up for it, therefore we're slow on a straight line. We're not where we need to be. We need to invest in the future. We're going to get a new wind tunnel coming online. This, unfortunately, is going to be a bit of a long, painful year for McLaren.
Yeah, they've got some development to do, I think. Actually, Norris did a good job to qualify where he was yesterday. And now he's paying the price, really. He's got probably another 50 laps looking in the mirrors as we're looking at it right now. Leclerc did a personal best on the last lap, still 6/10 slower than Verstappen, but he at least alleviated some of the pressure Perez put on him.
A gap 5 seconds in 7 laps. A race start that saw the Aston Martins come together. Got away with it somehow after Stroll hit Alonso at turn 4. So a hefty whack, but they got away with the contact. Allowed both Mercedes to get past Fernando Alonso, who started in 5th place. He's dropped down to 7th. Lando Norris is not happy with the balance. He's trying to fend off Logan Sargent, who is able to constantly follow. He's half a second away. Kevin Magnussen plumb last on the hard tyre. And Yuki Tsunoda, we saw a little bit of tape around the antenna for Sergio Perez, and he thinks he's got a problem with a tear-off. We've seen it happen before. It happened last year in Spa to Charles Leclerc.
George Russell is in much better shape right now than Hamilton. That isn't just Hamilton trying to eke the life out of those tyres. He was a little bit wide as he went onto the back straight there. And obviously getting the advantage of the DRS as well, George. That gives you up to 0.7 of a second if you're deploying it in all 3 of the DRS zones. So you would expect him to maybe be on the radio to the team and say, look, I think I'm quicker than Lewis and still keeping my tyres in. Let me run my fastest race.
It's a difficult balance around this circuit because the degradation is so high. The closer you get to the car ahead, the more dirty air you get, the more you slide around and damage the tyres. Little look from Sargent on the back of Norris, but nothing doing yet. Not easy to fire in a lunge into turn 4. You've got to set it up a little bit better into turn 1. I wonder if Hamilton is holding back a little bit on his tyres. Sainz is just drifted away from Perez ahead. There's 3 seconds there. It's Leclerc and Perez very close, and then Sainz is kind of backing up the whole rest of the pack at this stage. No one else has really dropped away. Hamilton's wide.
That is Hamilton wide at turn 10 and rejoining the track. We see plenty of lockups there across the course of the weekend. Russell, sorry, my apologies. Similar crash helmets, that's my excuse at least.
Not used to the green helmet.
No, so George Russell wide there. We were talking about...
Is Lewis managing or is he slow? I feel like I've got a bit more patience. Struggling.
Yeah, well, as I predicted, would you like any more predictions?
Yeah, please do. Please do, as we make our way through.
Well, the 4:30 at Cheltenham.
So lap 9 and 57, this is a review trackside now on board with George Russell. Definitely not Lewis Hamilton into turn 10.
Well, Jolene, put us in the cockpit. That is a horrible corner all day long, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's starting to get frustrated now behind Lewis, and that's why, as you thought, he's going on the radio and trying to hint at maybe a swap of positions. You've got to put the pressure on to get the team to do that, especially when it's a 7-time champion in the other car. You've got to get closer. And as you're braking and turning into turn 9, you unload the left front, and it's so easy to just have a wispy lockup, which George did. And actually going wide there was the better solution than trying to press the brake even more and flat spot the tyre.
Yeah, flat spot. You then feel like you've got a 50p piece. Well, for those listening that don't know what a 50p piece is, it's not round and it's very uncomfortable.
And we are driver's eye view with Fernando Alonso in 7th place. His countryman a couple of positions up. Sainz on the used softs, not happy at all at the moment. Comparison to his teammate last time over the line, Charles Leclerc doing a 1:38.6, Carlos Sainz a 1:39.7.
And look at this, Alonso's soon going to have DRS with the Mercedes duo as well. So Russell's still tucked in behind Hamilton, who has DRS. Fernando there is just exactly 1 second away. He needs to find a few hundredths to get the DRS as well. Stroll's going with him. If only he hadn't lost those 2 places to be stuck in this position in the first place, because the Aston Martin looks the quicker car at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Stroll doing a good job, actually, having recovered from that scary moment, clipping his teammate, but they're both going to be putting pressure on the back of the Mercedes. I'm just starting to wonder now, can they get to sort of late teens? Looking at the sort of pace, and, you know, we're hearing the likes of Sainz is talking about drop-off on the tyres.
Chances are going to be a bit of play lucky.
Understood, stand by.
Bit of engine braking, bit of overrun then as Max is taking his downshifts. That's probably a bit of a function of losing the rear tyres as well. And initially, when you have fresher tyres, you have the grip, then it starts to go slightly.
Pierre Gasly has been running at the back of the field. A man who has an amazing qualifying record here. Has been as high as 5th on the grid in the past. It didn't work out for him yesterday. Out in Q1. Started at the back, and he's gone early to the new rubber. His first start for a non-Red Bull-owned team in Formula 1.
Not the sharpest pit stop from the Alpine crew, 3.7 seconds. Not horrendous either. They haven't done a live pit stop for a few months, but Pierre will go out. And this will probably shuffle the pack now, because so many drivers, because the field's so close, so many drivers are going to have to cover off Pierre. They could all filter in soon.
Go back to Strat 8, Max, and let me know if the downshifts change.
Yeah, they'll have a whole array of different settings that the driver can adjust to the steering wheel, of course, and that will just be a slightly different way of either doing the engine braking or the engagement, and see if that gives them a slightly more comfortable rear end.
Onto the main straight to start another lap. Max Verstappen with a healthy lead as he begins his 11th tour of the circuit. The only question is everything okay with the car? This is a race that he did not finish 1 year ago, having fought for the race win with Charles Leclerc, lap after lap after lap. Fernando Alonso round the 15th and final corner. Can he attack now? We're riding on board with the two-time world champion, who will fancy his chances of a podium today. He's not out of contention, and he can't shape for the move. Identical power unit in the back of both cars.
Fernando's been one of the best on the brakes all weekend in the first sector. Into turn 1 and then this straight again into turn 4. DRS again. He's close to the back of Russell.
We're fighting further back. It's Oscar Piastri in the Papaya McLaren up against Hulkenberg. And it's Oscar Piastri now in 13th position. Hulkenberg in the white hats behind. Just a check of how close Fernando Alonso got. He's still behind George Russell at turn 7.
Russell might have had to defend and cover at least the middle of the road with the way that Fernando was shaping it up, but he's not got through, and it's so tricky to get through at this section as well. There we go, Russell with Alonso crawling all over the back of him now.
Yeah, he's going all in, isn't he? Very different lines going through 9 there, but Alonso's going, right, I need to get a move on here. You know, there's always a risk when you run in the dirty air. Lose downforce, car starts to slide more, your temperatures go through the roof. He's not going to get a pass done on the back straight, but he's got to try and get it done on the start-finish.
Bit of a wafty defence from Russell there into 11.
His tyres are gone. Here we go. Coming up through turn 12, flat out. So difficult to follow there, and Fernando just losing a couple of car lengths, but he's going to be super close when he comes through the next corner and picks up the DRS. Russell's been following Hamilton so closely for so long, and I think he has just gone through those tyres a little bit. And now it's Alonso who's been holding back, staying out of it for 10 laps. Now he's on a charge.
Tyres are gone. We need to think about boxing.
Yeah, the McLaren crew are out in the pit lane, but
yeah, they were standing by. Mercedes down in the pit lane. They've now wandered back in. So a slight foray. They were standing by ready on Russell's instruction. Albon now comes into the pits. So does Valtteri Bottas. Norris has also pitted as well. As we go through this sequence, they were able to get the cars to the very early part of the window. And Russell has his mirror. I should say now we're on board. We should be on board with George Russell. And we're looking back at Fernando Alonso all over the back of him.
He was so close at this point on the last lap. That line that he had into turn 9, I almost thought he was having a tentative look on the inside in what would have been a really unorthodox point to overtake on this next corner here. Don't think he's going to be close enough to have a cheeky look here, but look, it dives towards the inside of turn 9. George goes very wide, and then Fernando was so close, has the grip, has the traction, where Russell's scrabbling a little bit. Now he has the DRS as well, and he can attack towards turn 11, but it's a quick corner.
yeah, it's not the sort of corner you need a bit of a more braking zone to be able to chuck it down the inside, but he's got to try and get a move on. George's doing a great job of defending this, because very soon he's going to start seeing those temperatures rise on the tyres. But just look how much tighter on the line he's able to go, picking up a bit of clean air on his wings as well.
Esteban Ocon is under investigation for being in the wrong position at the start of the Grand Prix. Could be over the yellow mark, could be many different things. Hamilton's coming into the pits. Alonso's going to have a brilliant run. The fact that's being looked at suggests a penalty is incoming for Ocon. Big opportunity now for Fernando Alonso, and George Russell knows it. He goes defensive to turn number 1, parks it up, and Alonso will get another dose of DRS. He takes a different line, soaring left, soaring right. They're climbing the hill now, and Alonso knows he's got to get the move done. Russell's run out of tyres. Aston Martin versus Mercedes, and through goes Fernando Alonso to take 5th place.
Meanwhile,
does he?
Wait for it. Oh, he gives him room, and it's going to be tight as they go through. They're side by side. Who blinks first here? And it's Alonso who manages to keep hold of the position he won a couple of corners ago.
Beautiful. I didn't think George Russell was going to fight it that hard, but he kept it in there on the Mercedes with shot tyres, and I'm sure Fernando would have enjoyed that overtake. Always enjoys a fierce battle. And Hamilton has pitted then. He's the first of the drivers at the front to pit. Look already at Stroll now, staring at the back of Russell's Mercedes. So Alonso now has 6 seconds to the back of Sainz, and Hamilton is surely set for a 2-stopper.
This is what it looked like. Driver eye view to turn one. The beginnings of getting Russell off the line. The beginnings of Fernando Alonso taking 5th place.
He loves a switchback, Fernando. Every time I ever raced him, you think you've got the inside covered and you check your mirrors on the exit and there he is. And you're thinking, how have you stopped it, rotated the car that well and punched out of it? That's exactly how he's just passed George there.
Yeah, Ferrari in the pit lane, McLaren and, Mercedes in the pit lane as well.
Charles Leclerc from 2nd place in the Grand Prix. Had that lock-up before, signs in, they're double stacking. Ferrari with a new strategist in place and going for the double stack.
How's your operations, Ferrari? A few dodgy ones last year, dodgy pit stops, but that was really good for both drivers.
It was, and just managed to get out before the Mercedes came into play there. Otherwise, that would have meant they would have to hold the Ferrari. Slow stop.
Slow stop for George Russell as he makes his first stop in the Grand Prix.
Copy. Keep trying to downshift. We think it's the steering wheel. So Oscar will box this lap and swap the steering wheel. We'll box this lap.
That's Bottas getting past Magnussen in the foreground. That's George Russell rejoining the racetrack. There's damage to Ocon's car there. You can see the M plate is making a bid for freedom. He's being investigated by race control as well. Could be an incoming 5-second penalty for the Frenchman.
Yeah, I don't know who Ocon's been battling with for that one. I did see out of the commentary box window, when all the cars were lining up, all the drivers on the inside were in the wrong slot. They were all too far back, and then they inched forward right at the end. When the green flag waved at the back, Gasly wasn't in the right spot. He was still moving forward. And I wonder if Ocon was the driver that instigated that, pulling up short into his spot.
This is Oscar Piastri in the pits for McLaren. Hearing that Ocon was too far to the right-hand side of his slot. Here is the race leader, as Piastri's Grand Prix debut might be limited to 15 laps. Max Verstappen comes in, and it's all going to plan for Red Bull. That looked a quick stop as well. He's having a lonely Grand Prix of it at the moment. His teammate hasn't stopped. Sergio Perez leads once again at Bahrain International. And you can see that Verstappen is out comfortably before the Aston Martins appear. Fernando Alonso into the pits.
Leclerc's stop was defensive. Leclerc stopping from 2nd place. He was covering off the undercut from Perez, who was right with him. So Ferrari dived in. They're still looking at 2nd place in this Grand Prix. Ocon has been given a 5-second penalty. You were right about that one. So that was for not holding back, but it was for being too far to the side of his grid spot.
Yeah,
he's been in there a long time.
There is a defined grid slot, isn't there? But I fail to see what advantage you get by being one side or the other. But pretty basic error from him.
What a frustrating weekend so far for Alpine. And that is George Russell. He's cleared Kevin Magnussen, so Russell up to 9th place. But look who's ahead of him. And George Russell, once again, staring at the back of an Aston Martin.
Well, that slow stop allowed Alonso to go a little bit longer and then get out ahead of him. Hamilton is ahead of Fernando Alonso then. Russell very close in behind. The hard tyres take a bit of warming up on the outlap as well, so George might have a bit of a chance to get DRS on the exit of this corner coming up, turn 10.
This is a replay on board with George Russell taking the place from the Haas. The Haas of Magnussen, who has yet to pit in the Grand Prix.
His dose of oversteer as he went through turn 2. Sniffing a further opportunity with Alonso ahead, and I can see Piastri being pushed back into the pit box. It would be worth their while if they can fix this, given his rookie season. You know, he needs laps, he needs experience, and this is valuable time if they can rectify whatever that gearbox issue is.
I think that's why he's been in there for a lap or two, just with the engine off, trying to work it out, get him up to speed, and of course get McLaren up to speed as well, get some more data and help develop the car.
Here comes Lance Stroll. Canadian driver, previously on the podium at this venue, at the Silverstone-based squad when it was known as Racing Point. Alonso feeling the need to check the mirrors, slightly larger mirrors this year, full of Russell. It's these two providing us with the majority of the action. Can Russell do to Alonso what Alonso did to Russell when he was running out of soft tyres before he was sent the long way round? These two, good respect between them. We've seen some interesting battles for the lower points paying positions when Alonso was with Alpine, when Russell was trying to score his first points in Formula One. Perez still yet to stop. Few out there now on the soft tyre. The Williams pair and Perez as the penalty served I would imagine, for Ocon.
That's Bottas ahead of both of them, by the way. There's
Yes.
Bottas has genuinely just jumped Alonso and Russell, stopped early, and on the hard tyres, no one really noticed him stealth his way into a genuine P6 right now.
Actually, you know, I hadn't even looked at the stops. I just assumed he hadn't stopped yet. That is impressive.
So up 6 places. A strong result here last year for Valtteri Bottas. It is a circuit where he's taken 2 pole positions in the past. And from 2013 onwards, the Finnish driver was always qualifying in the top 6. Well, he lost the record yesterday in qualifying, but he is going well once again around this configuration that seems to suit him as a driver. He's been on the podium 4 times here at Bahrain.
What do we think on Perez staying out there? He's being caught, well, second a lap. It's going to end up behind Leclerc, still guess in front of Sainz, but any advantage staying out so long?
A one-stopper. Maybe he's going for a one-stopper, and Red Bull are going to back their race pace to do something different to Ferrari. Alonso is surely going to be lining up Bottas for the pass here.
Alonso out of the wheel tracks and ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Up to 6th place goes Fernando Alonso. Simple pass, and he makes his way through. How quickly can Russell do the same? Up against his one-time teammate in Formula One when Russell made his debut for Mercedes back in the Sakir Grand Prix in 2020.
Perez's pace is really good on the soft tyres, and they weren't new when he started the race either. He's lapping only 0.3 of a second slower than Sainz in 4th place, who's on a new hard. He's going to be pitting in this lap then, but his pace has actually been decent, so he's lost a bit to Leclerc, but not much to the others.
Another set of softs going on as well, so quite a interesting strategy to expect him to go for hard at the end of the Grand Prix.
He's going racy in the middle stint. That's what we like to see.
So Perez will lose the lead, but can he do anything about Charles Leclerc in the Scarlet Ferrari in the laps ahead of him with that compound difference? Charles Leclerc on the hard tyre, Sergio Perez with a set of the soft to attack. Again, strong pit stop for Red Bull, 2.4 seconds. It's working for the team, constructor champions of the world last year, and it's working for them at the moment. We saw Alonso get past Bottas last time around. That's the task ahead of George Russell. Fantastic sight of the sparks out of the back as we go down to turn 1, and Russell will line him up, try and do what Alonso did, up the hill to 4.
These two aren't best buds, are they? Bottas used to be in this car, and they had a bit of a infamous moment at Imola. This one should be fairly straightforward for Russell on the outside, but Bottas is fighting it all the way.
And around the outside goes George Russell. He backed the grip, and he backed the fact that his old teammate was going to make the corner. We've had one McLaren retire from the Grand Prix already. Lando Norris is into the pits there.
Yeah, it was a very slow stop. I thought they were retiring that car as well.
It was a second stop, so there must have been a problem for Norris. He must have come in, have a quick troubleshoot or something. They have sent him back out, but McLaren's day goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, 2 stops in 18 laps. That is not good news.
McLaren struggling at the start of the season. Formula One's 2nd most successful team all time in terms of wins. Many thought that the cost cap era of Formula One would suit a team like McLaren, but a huge regulation change last year. They did not read the rule book in the way that some others did. The frustration, I think, for the likes, it's one thing to get caught out by a rules revelation, and another thing entirely to not be able to make the upgrade when you know what the fastest car looks like. And for a while now, that's been the Red Bull.
How impressed are we with Williams right now?
Hold on, let's just make a point very quickly. Sorry, Jordan, let's make a point very quickly about Max Verstappen, because Max Verstappen is on the soft tyre. So the information on our screens is he's on the hard.
Yeah, so both Red Bulls are on the same plan then, using the set of softs. And Perez's first stint was actually pretty good, so you can see why they might go for the quicker tyre rather than need to go for the more durable. A look at Lando Norris's lengthy stop. They're topping up the air pressure there on for the pneumatic system there for Norris. Off he goes, but either way, this McLaren's day's fairly well over unless there's a safety car to bring them back in. I'm really impressed with Williams. 10th for Albon. Everyone has made one stop. Norris and Ocon 2. Ocon's also taken a penalty. And Albon's 10th, Sargent's 13th, running as midfielders.
It would be Alexander Albon's 4th point-scoring finish since he joined the famous team. The FW 45, he calls it the 45 out there. And start of the weekend, Alex Albon is very honest. He expected to be towards the back. He did not expect to be able to fight for points.
How are the downshifts at the moment? The rear locking?
Yeah, manageable. I mean, it's still not good, but...
It's 3.8 seconds between Leclerc and Perez at the moment. Last time around, 0.2 of a second between the Red Bull drivers' pace in 3rd and the Ferrari drivers' pace in 2nd place. If Perez can keep that up, we're going to get a battle on track between Ferrari and Red Bull like we had last year. Battle on track right now is Lance Stroll. He's overcome the injury to both wrists, then told us yesterday that he broke a toe as well. We'll see if there's any more updates. But Lance Stroll persevering. I think the speed of the Aston Martin has absolutely hastened his return, I think. If it was the 9th fastest car like it was 1 year ago, maybe we wouldn't have seen him this week.
Sit and watch for a couple of weekends, maybe. Yeah. He's eager to be in there. He's doing a good job through the first 20 laps. Still, he's got Fernando Alonso, George Russell in sight as well, having cleared Bottas there.
If you are an Esteban Ocon fan, maybe time to go and have a walk, because he's not served his time penalty correctly, and he's being investigated for that. If that's proven, he's going to have to do it all over again, or it'll be added to his race time. Alpine not having the start to the season that they wanted.
Shabby. Their other driver, Pierre Gasly, is still out of the points in 12th. He started plumb last, though, so he's at least making progress, Pierre. Started last after being knocked out in Q1, then had a lap time deleted for track limits as well. The team was so punchy with their expectations. It's not gone to plan thus far.
Perez with another strong lap. Sorry, DC.
No, actually, you've pointed out something much more.
No, go on. What was it?
I was going to ask of the origins of plum last. What is it about plums?
There we are. That's the first one of the questions that they're impossible to answer.
Lando, car ahead is Ocon. He served a penalty. Might have to have another one. Let's have some fun with him.
Well, that's Will Joseph, and you might recognise the voice of when he was telling Lando Norris what he had to do in a season opener a couple of years ago, when he had to set the fastest lap of the race at the end to get his maiden podium. Hamilton had a time penalty that day. Today, Will Joseph is telling his highly rated young driver in the cockpit, starting his 5th season in Formula One, to just try and have some fun with Esteban Ocon. And this is the reason that he got the time penalty that we believe he has incorrectly served. There you go.
It's not the smoothest of gear selections, was it?
Doesn't look miles out of the box
was for being out of position in the grid box at the start of the race.
Yeah, didn't look out of place at all, really.
Yeah, he was marginally to the right-hand side.
Too far forward?
We were on board with Sainz as he pulled up, and it looked like Sainz was at least as far forward as that. This penalty, as he came in, there was some mechanics going straight to work undoing the bolts on the nose there. So that's why they didn't get the memo not to touch the car for 5 seconds, and that's a little bit of a miscommunication then at Alpine. Leclerc with another lock-up. Perez is coming.
He's collecting them. Sergio Perez, fastest lap after fastest lap. Red Bull looking to start the season with a 1-2. That was the expectation of many in the paddock before this Grand Prix started. The question at the start of the day was, what race pace would we get from Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Fernando Alonso? Stroll obviously nursing the injury, so we weren't expecting him to be in the fight. But Ferrari look like they've got the second fastest car with the Monegasque driver. But he is going to come under big pressure for P2 in the remaining laps. There is a tyre offset between the Red Bulls and the Ferraris at the moment. And also a reminder for you, you can see the positions on your screen at the moment, but not the gaps. Sainz is a long way back from Perez, 10 seconds away from the two cars that you can see on screen.
Apparently that was the wrong replay that we saw for that was a different pit stop that he made. He's made 2, Esteban Ocon. That was for the damage. The one for the penalty wasn't. So it's not a miscommunication. And Alpine don't know why they've got the they didn't serve it. They thought they served it okay. And I thought that the original grid position looked okay as well, but...
Well, we've only had one start, so we know that that was the definitive replay.
Well, is there any possibility that when he selected first gear, because the car kind of jumped a little bit, did the sensor, because there's a proximity sensor, you know, normally you've got to move quite a distance before that would trigger a false start.
Yeah, I can't believe that feels harsh. It was way before. It was just a bite point find that he was trying to do to get ready for the launch, and he had first gear, did have a mini jump. I'd be surprised. We'll have to deep dive it after the race, but it won't help Ocon right now because he's 17 seconds off the back. But here he is. He's in a fight. Norris is crawling all over the back of him. Can Lando find some motivation?
Oh, what a story for both of them. One man who was 3 laps away from being a Grand Prix winner, one man who is a Grand Prix winner, both hoping to be at the head of the midfield. Alpine and McLaren going toe-to-toe for 4th place last year. It was Alpine unreliability that made that a contest. Lando Norris knowing that he doesn't have the car to fight. Not today anyway. They were talking about the updates coming for Baku. It's coming later in the season. It's the first European race of sorts, the 4th Grand Prix of the year. You've not seen the calendar for this year, but the fact that we're showing you the battle for 18th and 19th tells you how much control Max Verstappen's in at the moment.
The two teams that fought each other so hard for 4th in the Constructors last season fought hard for Piastri's signature as well. Norris might have a chance here on the soft tyres.
Is Lando going to get something from his day? A story of woe between the pair of them, but they're putting on a show for 18th place. Climbing the hill again. Hard tyres for Ocon, soft tyres for Lando Norris. Both of these guys, podium finishers, fighting over literal scraps here at the back end of a Formula One Grand Prix, and through goes Lando Norris. He manages to make the pass.
Battle of the bright coloured cars, isn't it?
It really is.
It's a fight for fun as well.
It was.
As it stands, 18th place. They both need a safety car to have any chance of a point in this one. But better to have a fight in an overtake than just a long, boring race simulation on your own. Here we go, here's a fight.
This is a real fight. It was 3.8 seconds at one point, and that tyre compound offset has brought Perez into play. Perez, a winner around this venue, but not this layout of circuit. He's maiden one in 2020. The only man in Formula One history to be last on the first lap and first at the last.
And information degradation on hard is lower than expected.
Well, that's a reassuring thing for a driver to hear. Lower than expected, because your worst case scenario is you've got low expectations and it's even worse.
Oh dear. It is all about Charles Leclerc trying to rescue something for Ferrari. We saw another cutaway there of Fred Vasseur. As his driver's eye view, this is a fantastic camera angle of the driver just trying to be kind to his tyres as we're on board.
He's doing a great job because he's half a second a lap quicker than Sainz, who has just drifted away from the top 3 fight in this Grand Prix so far. 25 laps in, and Sainz is 25 seconds off the race lead. He's 12 seconds off his teammate, and here is his teammate with Perez. Is he going to open the flap of the DRS? Yes, he is.
Yeah, this just adds to the advantage. He's got the car advantage, the tyre advantage, and now he's got a car that will be a lot quicker in a straight line.
Past the curb cam, up the hill, Esteban Ocon's getting another penalty for serving that time, but he's up to 10 seconds, getting ridiculous for Esteban Ocon. Not his day. Could it be Red Bull's day? They've got a 1-3 at the moment. They've got Sergio Perez darting all over the back, and Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc's not under pressure from behind, so he can afford to throw a few defensive moves.
He can, and surely he will, because this is important for Leclerc. The podium looks like it's his if the Ferrari holds together and he doesn't get involved in an incident. This is the fight. Perez has his best opportunity to pass Leclerc right now. Soft tyres against the hard.
So we are happy with your management now. Happy, this is good.
Yeah, they have more tech, so let's think how to use it. Let's get closer, let's see what they do.
Yeah, he's a strategist within the car. He wants to put a bit of pressure on the back of the Mercedes. Only thing is, that's Hamilton. and he's pretty good at handling pressure. But I reckon Hamilton is one of the big reasons Alonso's still motivated in Formula One. He's angry that he's got 7 titles and he's only got 2.
Half a second between Perez as well, but it's half a second a lap that Alonso is taking out of his old teammate Lewis Hamilton. That's the battle for 5th. We'll check you in on that in a few moments' time, because that'll be about 3 laps away before we see those old masters going wheel to wheel. This is the battle for 2nd place in the Grand Prix. This is Perez to the inside of turn number 1, and through he goes. No defence offered at this point, but there will be now a chance for Charles Leclerc to do what he did 1 year ago and repass into turn 4. But does he have the traction off the corner? He's going to go, he's going to launch it to the inside, but Perez has the place, and it's a Red Bull 1-2. Through goes Sergio Perez.
Wow, it was quite a late defence from Charles into turn 1. It forced Perez onto such a tight line. He was almost going inside the curb at turn 1.
It was a little bit reactive, wasn't it, from him there? Just suddenly saw that Perez was going to go for it, and Leclerc started moving to the apex, but it was too little too late. The crucial thing was that Perez had the DRS on the exit as well. Unlike last year, where Leclerc was playing games with the DRS lines, this time Checo had it, and he could stay ahead into 4. Now Leclerc's got it, but it's too late. The Red Bulls are in 1 and 2 and have a chance to disappear up the road. Fundamentally, he didn't cover the inside there, Leclerc. And if you don't get the DRS on the exit either, it's a pretty difficult position to try and stay ahead.
Sergio Perez restored to the place he was at the opening meet of the Grand Prix.
Don't you think got the pace? We're happy with the time management. We'll stick with the time management.
Yeah, as you said right at the beginning, this is all about driving to tyre temperature.
These guys are all in a battle for 4. Sainz is not too far up the road of Hamilton. He must have just been out of shot there, because he's within 4 seconds of Hamilton. Then you've got Alonso, and Russell's just drifted 5 seconds back from Fernando as well. There he is with Stroll for company. So the Aston Martin looks the better car than the Mercedes. The second Ferrari's not far ahead either. These 3 really evenly matched, and maybe in reverse pace order at the moment. Hamilton wants a piece of Sainz, but he's got Alonso charging after him.
So you've had some of the best leg of the field, so we're happy to pick up the pace now and drop this manager.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, just have a little look at his lap times and see where he starts bringing it down to. Because some of this information, of course, could be to, lead the opposition, Fernando, into thinking, well, actually, I'm not in as strong a position as I thought I was when I was sneaking my way up on the back of the Mercedes.
He was a little bit cocky, wasn't he? A little bit cocky at the wheel. We've got better deck than them. Now he's got to prove it, because it seems Hamilton's been holding back as well as Alonso in this stint. Now Lewis wants to try and up his own pace to catch the Ferrari. You can think you're doing a good job at the wheel, think you've got it easy when you up the pace, but if the car ahead ups the pace as well, you go together to go and catch the driver in 4.
Albon and Tsunoda have come in to make their stops. Yuki Tsunoda trying to make it 3-point scoring finishes in a row around this circuit as he rejoins, and his old teammate has got past him as he does so. Albon rejoining in 14th to keep you updated on all the battles throughout the field.
Incident noted. Car 31 speeding in the pit lane.
Make it stop for Esteban Ocon.
It's a nightmare.
Park it up.
Actually, just remind me, do they still do fines for that? Because in my day, we used to get fined $10,000 if you were speeding in the pit lane.
Pierre Gasly had a fine yesterday. Do you know how much it was? 100 quid. 100 quid.